As the first rays of dawn struggled to break through the thick blanket of fog, Sarah's mind turned to the day ahead, and she began thinking about all the things she had to do. She had come back to find out about the disappearances that had ravaged Raven's Hollow for the past 6 months. She needed to get started. After dragging herself out of bed, Sarah left the comfort of her cozy room and headed towards the police station. The streets were quiet, as if the town itself was holding its breath. The sound of Sarah's footsteps echoed on the cobblestones as she made her way down to the police station. Sarah couldn't shake off the feeling of being followed, but every time she turned around, there was nothing but mist. Finally reaching the small, run-down, barely standing brick building that served as the town's police station, Sarah was greeted by Sheriff Collins. She remembered him as a young deputy from her childhood. Surprisingly, he had barely egged a day. Without wasting any time, Sarah got straight to the point. "I need to talk to you about the disappearances." Collins's smile quickly began to fade. "I had a feeling you were gonna say that. That's why you've come back, isn't it?" "How many people have gone missing now?" Sarah asked. "4 in the last 6 months, Collins replied. "All near the cliffs over there and by the lighthouse." He shrugged. "We've looked everywhere, but it's like they vanished into thin air." Sarah's heart began to sink at the mention of the cliffs and lighthouse, the 2 places that held painful memories. "And there have been no signs or clues?" Collins shook his head. "No, sorry, nothing." As he spoke, Sarah could hear the frustration in his voice. She looked at the thick fog outside, concealing everything in its path. "We've searched everywhere," he continued, running a hand through his hair. "Could it have something to do with the lighthouse?" she wondered aloud. Collins sighed heavily. "Maybe, but that place has been abandoned for years." He looked at her wearily. If you really want to check it out, go ahead, but be careful. The cliffs are slippery and you can't see too much with this fog." Sarah smiled faintly. "Don't worry about me, I'll be okay." Leaving the police station, she walked towards the cliffs, the narrow path twisting and turning, leaving little space to walk. The sound of waves crashing echoed in her ears. She could feel the mist on her skin and smell the salt in the air. She shivered, the shape of the lighthouse barely visible through the fog. Sarah's footsteps echoed on the wooden boards as she approached the lighthouse. The thick fog swirled around her, obscuring her vision. She could feel a chill slowly creep up her spine as she reached for the door. Pushing it open, she stepped inside and was immediately hit by a musty smell and an eerie silence. Her eyes adjusted to the dim light barely filtering through the filthy, salt-caked windows. The walls, once sparkling white, now peeled pockmarked, and the floorboards creaked with every step. As she made her way upstairs, Sarah's heart began to race. There at the top of the stairs were names messily scrawled on the walls in a jumbled manner. As she read each name, a sense of dread washed over her. These were all missing people from town. Who wrote these names, and why? As she stood there, lost in thought, she could almost hear whispers in the fog outside. But she couldn't make out what they were saying, or if they were indeed whispers at all.